to the Shared Value Conversations again, and welcome to all the listeners. And as you know, we're here together to explore the intersection of shared value, ESG, sustainability, and entrepreneurship in Africa. And this for us is more than a discussion. The shared value Africa for us is why we breathe and we wake up every day, but it's a movement to redefine the future of business on the continent. And we want to bring to you, our audiences, thought-provoking conversations with established leaders, with young leaders, with talk to sustainability experts and innovative entrepreneurs to uncover the real challenges that we face every single day and those breakthrough success stories that we all want to hear and the transformative opportunities that shape Africa's sustainable future. And I also want to share with you today what is the mission of our Shared Value Conversations. I know I say it every time, but I just want to reconfirm it, is that we want to inspire action. We want to foster collaboration, and we want to empower businesses to integrate shared value into their strategies through these conversations and obviously through the Shared Value Africa work. And we want to provide, what we want to prove that purpose and profit can go hand in hand. So enough about that. Today, I've got a really, really inspiring guest for you. And I am going to introduce to you today, I'm sure if you followed us on Shared Value Africa in the last couple of weeks, you see that we will be launching Shared Value Ghana chapter on the 3rd of October. And today I've got the really, really great privilege of interviewing Andy, but his real name is Andrews. And Andy, I'm going to ask you to pronounce your surname when you come online. So Andy has walked a long journey with us, but we're going to talk about that today. So Andy, I think what we're going to do is to kick off, number one, please to introduce yourself and then to take us on a little bit of a journey. Who is Andy? I know it's your birthday soon. You can tell us when your birthday is. and who's Andy? Where was Andy born? And what drives Andy? What is his purpose? So I'm going to hand over to our guest. And thank you, Andy, for being with us today. Over to you.
Always a pleasure, Tiki. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited and also humbled at the same time, considering my journey and then how things have evolved over the past 29 years on Earth. Yes, my birthday is coming pretty soon on the 17th of November. I'll be 29 by then, and it's been a journey of, I would say, intense growth, like deeply resilient type of growth, because I'm the first of five siblings, and I was born in a small town somewhere in the southern part of Ghana, the Volta region, called Akachi, and my dad and mom more or less gave birth to a mixed breed type of. So my dad is an Akan, my mom is an Ewe, uh, from the Volta region of Ghana, and my dad is from the eastern region. So they met, young people met in Accra, and my mom and dad, unfortunately, they didn't stay together. So I'm a product of a divorced family system, but it hasn't really. It was taught, but it hasn't really changed or taught me anything negative. It only brought some positivity in my journey. I feel like naturally I'm a positive guy. I always look at things from the brighter side. But yes, I was born in the Volta region on the 17th of November, 96. I have a brother, biological brother, and then step siblings. So I have three step siblings and a biological brother. Um, who is currently schooling in the US. I more or less as the first child of my father and my mom technically, because my mom had another child first before me, but he wasn't connected with us. So generally, I'm more or less like acknowledged as the first child because a lot of leadership responsibilities sort of fell on me, especially when my parents, parted ways at a very young age. So I took care of my younger brother a lot of time because my mom was also a trader. My mom was traveling in and out of Togo, Benin. She deals in products like clothes, dresses for young
Nice.
people. So she was kind of a very very busy woman. My dad was not around, so my mom was always not also around. So I was almost like a child who grew up quite early. By growing up, I mean responsibility fell on me quite early, and so this sort of created a certain mindset in me that I shouldn't wait for anyone to try and fix my problems. Whilst I commit to my maker, believing that he's going to guide, and because I more or less did not quote unquote die along the way due to some some events that were transpiring in my life and the life of my brother as we were growing up. Since I didn't die and I'm still here, and I kept it has been part of me. I mean, my mom told me one time that we have survived, we have thrived. And if we did not die along the way, then it means that there's something that our life has to, be made out of. Like there's a purpose, there's something that's guiding us, there's something that is driving me. And she builds a certain resilient, tough character in me that I should always keep my eyes on the things that I know I deserve and things that I know I can do. So if I should put myself in a learning environment, I'm the guy who would learn and do his best to figure things out on his own. And sometimes there's a certain sort of a side effect to that because you struggle to even ask for help. Sometimes you don't even know how to even ask for help because you've always been that kind of a guy who is always moving and get something. And maybe because my mom is also generally, yeah, naturally like that, and we grew up under that sort of condition. I mean, my dad was always around. I mean, he has always been around, but he wasn't always close. He stepped in at some point when life was also evolving. Particularly in my high school, I went to a high school in the eastern region called Akwiman Senior High School. So those are the phases where my dad popped up and was also trying to take responsibility of some things. It was helpful and it was a blessing to us because it also helped my mom to to be helped, even though she was also kind of a very independent black woman trying to get everything done by herself. My dad was helpful, and since then, university, I mean, high school, I took on leadership roles. I've always been that kind of a guy who wants to solve a problem, fix this, put, put, put people together, or pull them or gather some people to address some of the issues in the school. So funny enough, I became an entertainment prefect in high school.
Oh,
And the whole idea was to just get something exciting going on the campus for these young people. And I had this inclination that when you are in school, maybe I was also quite exposed to some some information from my elder siblings and cousins who were in the university at a time who could share some of the things because we all grew up. I grew up in a family home, so my mom's grandma, my grandmother's house, everybody was around. So they kept saying quite a lot of things. So when I was going to high school, and it was a boarding house. I thought that some of these things that I say we can also do it on our campus and try and encourage young people to be creative to explore their talent. So I was that kind of a guy who would bring the dancers together, the singers together, try and manage them, managing talents here and there. So it was an exciting journey. They saw that and they voted for me during an election period where people were contesting for student leadership positions. And I contested, I was like, I'm going to be an entertainment prefect. They thought I could best fit for a school prefect, but I was like, nah, I need to be an entertainment prefect because I want to expand some of this arts, entertainment side of things also. So yeah, I became an entertainment prefect. I moved on to a university where I also entered into several leadership roles. From level 100 to 400, I've always been that kind of a guy who would see a problem, do something about it, encourage people to address some challenges, and naturally have that tendency to want to always proffer solutions to things. I'm always thinking about how can we solve it? How can we fix this? So yes, I became a student representative council president, so an SRC president for the university as a part of governing council meetings, had management lecturers calling me for, you know, um, things that you would not ordinarily see young people participating in. I was in rooms where lecturers were curating our course materials. They would ask for an opinion. I facilitate and managed a
Good.
number of campus events and all that. So this has been my journey. And since then, yeah, I have launched into the space of youth development, leadership. I participated in so many events and model UNs. I I have been that guy who always wanted to make something become better, basically, and try and at the back of my mind, try and solve your family challenges and make sure your mom doesn't lack. And the only way that I thought that poverty could be eradicated from my family was for me to think about solutions and for me to build myself and work at it. Keep that focus on becoming a better person. So anything that looked like a good thing that would help me launch into a better place, I will be there. Conferences, symposiums, workshops, I'll be there. Roam around, go there, empty stomach, I'll be there just to acquire something, just to be that sponge, that soaks
Thank
in anything quality, anything good that will make me a better person. For my brother, and I mean, in recent time, for my younger siblings, who my mom, from my mom's side, my dad's side, they are all currently married to different people. So, um, yeah, people are looking up. I feel like I always get that. I know a lot of people are looking up to me. I'm also looking up to myself. I'm also telling myself every day to make it work, to see through things and to become, yeah, an inspiration for my siblings and for my family, and to an extent for the young people of our continent. I
thank
hope this.
you. I think, Andy, thank you for sharing all of that and sharing where you come from and your family and everything. I think that for me, uh, what sort of came through as you were talking is that level of independence that you probably have had to learn at a very early age, because of the family setup. And I want
Mm,
to say that your mom probably played a big role in your life, because I think you said your mom said to you, life must be, if you spared and you're living, your
yeah,
life have to be something that's
yeah, it
worthy
has to
of
count.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, am I right?
you're right. You're right. It
Yeah.
has to count. The life has. You had
Yeah.
to make it count. Every day doesn't have to just go by without you doing anything. But my mom would always tell you that do something, fix
Yeah.
something. Yeah, so it was amazing. And my
Yeah.
dad also had that disposition.
Yeah.
I'll credit him also for some of the encouraging things, and we praise for you every now and then, encourage you that you can become better. So, but my mom was actually the driving force. She was amazing. She's still amazing. She's still amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear you speak so fondly of your mom, because as a mom myself, I hope my children speak about me like that. So Andy, let's move on a little bit to Ghana, to the shared value Ghana chapter, to your shared value journey. We know that you've been, and I mean, those of our audience on the call that follows us, that's listening to us, the African Entrepreneurship Forum has been run by you for 4 years. So you've been very much part of the shared value community. You've been to summits, you've hosted some of our events as well, you've written some articles and all of that. So I want to ask you, from your perspective, why? Why shared value? What is it that drew you to to the concept, the business management concept of creating shared value is the first question. And then the second question is, you know, from a Ghana perspective, when you look at it from a business perspective, how do you hope that it is going to benefit the Ghana economy?
Mm, mm. Okay, so on the first question, when I think about shared value, I think about what it means to do good and do well at the same time. And doing good would oftentimes be branded as a philanthropic or corporate social sort of responsibility journey and all that. But for me, it's about businesses becoming agents of transformation, and then also inviting the key development agents to participate with them in the journey of ensuring that everybody is not left behind. So from a business perspective, so anybody that's producing a goods and services and rendering the services for profit are thinking about how would they, beyond profits, make the lives of individuals better in the community in which they operate. So that has always been part of my thinking in my early stages of schooling. I've always thought that I don't understand why a business will be located in this community and the community will be, quote unquote, struggling with basic amenities, but the business is making millions and thriving, and the community is going to say just struggling and hustling to survive. A lot of times, I grew up in an industrial area, so Tema is known as the harbor city of Ghana, where the Tama Harbor is. So, an industrial area, and a Sherman, which is a suburb of, was once upon a time part of Tema and all that. But then the community in which I grew up, a lot of people would go into this industrial area to work, and everything was secluded, was more like separated from them. So development was siloed, and then you would then find that a lot of the opportunities that are supposed to sort of come to the community is just going to a few people who, quote unquote, are known as the managers or the owners of this corporation. So I was like, how can we create that new approach of doing business, that the business exists to do good and do well at the same, so be profitable and add value to the society in which you come from. So when I chanced on this concept, I think somewhere 2019, 2018, 2019, of creating shared value. And at the time, I'd been an more like a follower and an ardent believer in this whole five forces, Pontius five forces. I used to quote it in my business development training, some of the things that I do on campus and all that. And as a student of Michael Porter's theories and things, I chanced on this, but it wasn't clear to me. And I realized that a lot of the things that I've been doing, and from a student leadership approach, even, is sort of painted that picture. So when I saw CSV creating shared value and his write up with Mr. Kramer, I thought that no, this has to be followed through. And God be so good. I feel like sometimes when you talk to yourself, it has a way of just connecting you to the right people. The things that you are dreaming about, thinking about, it just has a way of just bringing the people along the line. So yes, I chanced on a webinar that was at the time I was working with an incubator somewhere in the middle belt of Ghana called Grassroots Hub. And I was the business developer, technical lead for business development, and just updated there. So I saw this webinar from SOPACT, where you were a speaker, and I was like, wow, this would be amazing. You should join this. And on the call, I mean, you did a fantastic presentation as usual about what it means to create shared as a business management concept. And I was like, no, I need to follow through with this and then find a way of integrating it in some of my incubation programs that I was running at the time and my business development trainings. So I followed through. I followed up with you. I contacted you, and we did something for the SMEs in the Bono region in the middle belt of the country. We did this investor readiness calls. Some of them sign up for the Purpose Playbook training. I did it myself. That's when I joined the first cohort of Purpose Playbook training, where I got to hone deeper into the whole idea of creating shared value. Beyond it being a thinking or philosophy, it became a management strategy for me on how to build sustainable businesses that would not just think about profit, 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 but within the profit, they know that their existence and how they would thrive in a society has to be connected with the society itself developing. So that's how you build legacy businesses. Most businesses started off by first solving societal problems. So it doesn't really becomes a mishap when a business started by trying to solve problems, and all of a sudden now people are serving them more than they are serving the community. So it becomes a missing sort of there's a missing middle. So shared value sort of breaches that gap and brings those nuances when it comes to business development, makes it a bit clearer that you exist to do good and do well at the same time, you as a business individual. So I then started this whole journey with you on the African Entrepreneurship Forum, and it's been amazing. So looking at the full um, understanding of what it means to create shared value, and then also transitioning personally into the community, the shared value of Africa community, then I realized that there will be a certain phase in my life that I would have to not just be an advocate, not just be a mouthpiece, not just be a facilitator, but to be a leader within this amazing community, that I should lead something that would bring, that would unite businesses, that would also bring these nice concepts to more like decentralizing it to the people that matter, the young businesses that are being deployed. And I have been at that forefront of business development, startups, and all that over the past 7, 8 years of my journey in the space, almost in my ninth year now. And so I just thought that, shared value Ghana, we need to create it. We need to start thinking about, and you invited me to that conversation that maybe we should start thinking about this thing. And I, to be honest with you, I was nudging thoughts. I had a lot of write-ups being done around the whole idea. I had a number of engagement. I mean, we did the Value Creation Forum when I was working my previous organization with Afechi Awono Foundation. So it was almost like a nice way to continue to advocate and then be seen as the leader in what it means to create shared value. So if people want to have someone to talk to, and businesses that we need to engage on their sustainability reports, on their business management concepts, we need to then begin to help them from a strategy perspective to redesign or recalibrate their approach for doing business and put the people first. So it's people, planet, prosperity. So the 3 Ps has to be embedded in there. And the only way to do that is through the CSV business management concept, the creating shared value concept. And I see that young people are at the heart of it. I mean, the youth, the youth population in Ghana, comparing to Africa and at large, we have to be the guys who are inviting our older generation into conversation that will protect us and then help our society thrive. So we need to be the ones on at the table talking about the future. It doesn't Sometimes it doesn't sit well with me if there are some dialogues, some convenings that are talking about the future of work and reports being done, and people are in some closed door meetings, and they're talking about the future without a young person there. They're talking about the future of young people, talking about the future of a country without having the voices of young
Yeah.
people who ought to be there so that they know. So the intergenerational dialogue, for me, it's very, very important. So you need to find a way of building that in there. And I think the shared value community gives young people that platform to participate in these conversations that shapes their future and the future of the society in which they live. And so I see this as a catalyst for transformation, like whole concept. And I see myself as that individual that is hopefully going to become a model, hopefully a model that demonstrates how young people are critical enablers or critical actors for the development of our nations, of first our society, of our nation, and our continent at large. So we need one or five or 10 or 20 more young people like Andy who would carry that momentum, that vision, that they would develop themselves continuously, continuous learning, continuous improvement, and they will be at the heart of where the conversations that are critical to the development of our countries, that are being held, they would be there. So for me, representation matters, and representing with a voice is also very critical. And you have given, if you're the Share Value brand, has given me the platform and connected me to a few. So I don't take this lightly at all. I see it as an important mission. It's a no-brainer, and we have to keep pushing for it. And the hopes and aspirations of young people are truly embedded in this at the core of it. That is what we are doing when we talk about creating shared value. And so this will be my response to the two questions. And if you want me to perhaps maybe unpack a few things that I shared, happy to do that.
I think, Andy, when I listen to you, and I hope that some of our audience as well, listening to you today, is that we, as Shared Value Africa, and you well aware of that, is that it is one of our sort of goals to create a platform for young people to raise their voices, because I think too often in business, we speak to the older generation, and who is building the future? You, young generation, is busy
That's
building the
right.
future.
Yeah.
So for me, I think listening to you as well, and listening to what you're saying, and about the shared value model, and I think that's why Shared Value Africa actually was born, because this model, when you think about doing good while doing good business, is what we all have to do as business. It's not just Shared Value Africa that needs to do. Every single business on the Africa continent needs to do good while doing good business. I have another question for you, and I'm not going to ask you to, because today is about getting to know Andy, okay? It's not about your work. It's more about the person, but thank you for sharing with us your journey and some of your work. I want to ask you a question as a young person on the
Mm,
Africa continent, okay? And I'm asking this question because it's part of our work, and you know that. I want to know, from a young person and a young leader's perspective, okay, what
mm,
are your views on all of this work that is happening at the moment, and all of this awareness that's been created about gender equality in the workplace?
mm, mm. I think it's been long overdue. I feel like some of these things are issues that our culture, our cultures of our nations on the continent seem to just sweep under the carpet. And sometimes there's those sort of unconscious biases to some of the issues of equality, gender parity, the pay gaps, and all those things. That I think usually people just see, yeah, they have those unconscious biases because it's more of a lived experience. So sometimes you have to find a way of drawing their attention to it. So at the moment with the advocacy going on, it's critical, it's good. It opens the eyes of people to issues that they have not necessarily, not that they are agents of that sort of thing, but it's just been shaped from generation to generation such that it becomes very much ingrained in their subconscious. So they don't even know how they act it out. So it even reflects in how interviews, conversations, policies are designed and the plans and all these things. So for the advocacy side, I think it's important and it's been long awaited, and it happening now and then. Shared value, the gender units, being that forefront of it, it's amazing. We need to find a way of beyond aside the advocacy, which I believe has to go on because the amplification and the awareness creation then brings people into the conversation, right? We create awareness, you bring the understanding to it, and then people can participate in a healthy dialogue, which would then carve a path towards much more sustained, progressive development for our businesses and then for our people. Because it takes two to make things work. And the gender components of business development from a female perspective, female leadership perspective, and then also the male counterpart, it needs to be established as individuals that are two formed, complementary to each other or suitable to each other to churn out the best things that we want to see for society's advancement. So one person cannot be seen as an individual that knows more. So we need to create that equal partnership. And that has always been it. I mean, that has always been the design from the creation story, so that people have to come from a place where we support each other, we help each other, and that has to be embedded in there. So aside advocacy, you need a strategy. You need a strategy to make sure that it becomes sustainable. So I would always put that in there, that the balance that comes through business development, the core values of a company, their mission, how they design their organizational policy, organizational development plans, and all that. There are that gender sensitive things that has to be embedded in there, right? And so for me, it comes through a strategy. How do you find those insights? How do you generate that and then curate it within how businesses design their plans and their policies? So one of the approaches that you can think of is that Shadowly does this, reviews of companies, and Shadowly has various programs that it facilitates, more like a convening, right? Where we get to explore ideas and talk about this. So the insight that is being harvested from those conversations, you test it within companies, and you invite them to conversations that borders on sustainability. You invite them to conversation that borders on culture, how the culture, because the leader has to be trained, because the leader obviously inherently shapes the culture in the organization. But there are leaders that can be developed across the length and breadth of the organization. So you talk about the line managers, the supervisory officers, the coordination guys and all that, the ladies who are coordinating things. So you have to find a way of building a strategic program that shapes their perspective on how they even approach team formation, how they make sure that there's gender balance or gender equality, two male, three men. These are things that sometimes people don't automatically think about. So you have to build in the policies and bring in that indicators that will help them shape that. And so for me, it comes from a place of gender responsiveness, gender sensitivity, and then you talk about the gender mainstreaming. So
Yeah.
how would they be sensitive to it? You need to do this sort of testing and then assessment of their staff. And there has to be an ombudsman or an agent, a change agent in the organization that is trained, you know, and is able to assess the performance of team on gender.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So Andy, you're going into the detail now, okay?
exactly.
And I want to thank you for that. But I can already see quite a bit of your sort of vision from that perspective as well. Because I think at the end of the day, when we think about it, it is about equality. And I want to say that God's created us all equal,
That's true.
and I think for me, it is great to hear that from a young person's perspective, what your thinking is, you know what I mean, and what your view is. Because you sometimes also find that some of our younger generation, is influenced by us, the older
Yeah.
generation, because we
Yeah.
always
Oh, always.
yeah. We always look towards our elders and we respect our elders. And then we also, we learn about their views, which inevitably become ours. But sometimes what we as young people have to do is that we've got to question those views. And this is what I always say to young people as well. Don't always follow. You need to question, to actually ask yourself, if we are doing this, is this the right thing to do, or am I just doing it because, what I mean, the older
It's
generation is saying
it
that.
actually takes a strong older generation to create an enabling environment
Yes.
for young people to ask the questions.
Yeah.
Psychological safety is something that I have been advocating for in in every workplace that I've been in, and every in my community, in my convenience. I always tell people that you are safe here to express yourself. You're safe here to tell us what you are thinking about, what's bothering you, what's worrying you. This is a safe space. So for the older generation to create that enabling environment, to let's allow the young person to express themselves, that to ask the questions, because sometimes I feel like the questions are not being asked because people obviously are maybe intimidated.
Mm.
There's that barrier to entry for them to even ask. There's some, again, an unconscious way of just sidelining the views and the thoughts of young people. It's sometimes very unconscious. The older generation don't know that they are even doing that. Perhaps the one that are enlightened will say that, before this thing happens and before we go about, let's ask our younger generation, what do you think about this? What do you
Mm.
think about this strategy? Let's test it with them. So give yourself like a week of just testing something that you are about to launch in an organization, a new product line, a new business line. That, hey guys, we've sat in the room, we've had some views, and I want to do this on a on an organizational level. We've done this survey monkey here. Just let us know what you think about this from an AI perspective, from a new innovative perspective, from a gender perspective. So that the gender lens thing that we always advocate, that there has to be gender lens in how we develop our plans and our programs and everything. It's seen that it's being done from an input perspective. So input, outputs, the outcomes
Mm.
are then being seen. So before anything goes, we say that, oh, let's test it for a week. Let us know what you think. They're encouraging them to then ask the question. When they see something, they will know that, oh, because you have invited them to this, now they can ask the questions. But if they are not even invited, if they are not even encouraged, then they feel like, no, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I'm not welcome to ask anything. But some guys who are quite, quote unquote, a bit radical in their approach will go and say it, and before you realize, someone is telling them that you
Yeah.
are you're arrogant, or you are disrespectful, or you are this. But they will say that if I don't ask the questions, if I don't seek clarity, how then do I learn? How then do I
Yeah.
improve?
Absolutely. I agree with you. It is up to us as the older generation to create that enabling environment so that young people can step to the fore, and ask those questions or even share their views. Because
Yeah.
the things have changed so much,
So
that we can't, you know what I mean, the old views, and this is what I always say, I mean, the old views clearly is not working because we've got so many challenges from a global and from a continental perspective. But Andy, I'm conscious of the time, so I want to ask you
yes.
this last question, because believe it or not, we've been talking for more than a half an hour, but the time
My
goes so
goodness.
quickly, because of the discussion we had. So we should be talking for another hour. So I want you to look into the future. And share your view. My thinking is always, as you know, it's my mantra that I say Africa is where we're building the global future. But now I want to ask from a young leader, if you look into the future, your view, and I'm asking you this question directly as a young person, will our young people from the Africa continent lead the way to
Mm,
build that global future? And it's a question that I'm asked, that I want to put to you as one of our young leaders, because I believe we are, but I just want to hear it from the younger generation, what your views are.
Thank you, Tiki. I say yes. You know, even I think we have so many examples now that sort of speaks to this. The young people are obviously not waiting for anyone again. Um, they are they're doing it even when they're not welcome. For me, they doing it is something that the older generation must advise. I feel like the older generation has wisdom. They have based on foresight, it's like a hindsight type of way of guiding. So the young people are aggressively trying to build something for themselves because we know, globally speaking, jobs are going to be, people, AI is going to change how people work and a lot of things. So young people are trying to own the narrative themselves. However, they need to be guided in the right things to do. So we need that guidance. Young people will lead the next wave of, the next industrial revolution, the 4R, the fourth industrial revolution. They will lead it because they are more technologically savvy. We are in that information era, and the young people they are more sophisticated. The tools that we are more sophisticated than the older generation, and the approach and the value system that has to be inculcated in us is something that if we don't take time, this young generation who will lead may lose sight of values like empathy, values like uh, tolerance, values like respect, values like honor. That because they are on that journey, trying to solve it, trying to own the narrative themselves, trying to do this, they would sideline this kind of things that actually bring people, that unifies people and make societies thrive. Some of them may still go with it, but if we don't take it, to just be a handful of people who would be thinking and talking about this. So doing business the right way, creating things that are sociologically and then economically beneficial to society, it's something that I feel the older generation must always look out for through the innovations and the product that this young generation are exploring and are deploring. So that's where I see CSV creating shared value as a game changer. That's where we would be able to create that platform, that continental platform, and help them to shape their product such that it connects to the core of who we are as a people, as a community, as a nation, that we are still in touch with each other, that the time we spend on social media does not take us away from our family, does not take us away from other people, that the innovation, that the product doesn't take a large part of our consciousness, that we think only about me, and whatever I'm doing, but we think about us. The Ubuntu thinking there, right? I am because we are. That's we are building the society because we are interested in the welfare of everybody. That's where I think our work that we do, from facilitating meaningful dialogues that focus on growth and the strengthening of businesses for Africa's advancement, transformation, that's where shared value concept sits. And so we create that middle ground and we create that unifying thing to make sure that intergenerational dialogues are had And it would build continental platforms that would ensure that the cross-border trade, the technologies that we are sharing, the information flow and all that, it's it's synchronized with the thinking of doing good and doing well at the same time. And we would champion this, we would continue to advocate this. But um, I think young people will lead, and they have to lead with compassion. They have to lead the next generation with wisdom. They have to lead with intellect that is not self-seeking, but intellect that is beneficial to the next generation, not even their generation alone. That's how we build legacy business. That's how we build thriving economies. That's how we build societies that are, value driven and mission aligned. And I think that's where my focus and my vision for championing and being at the heart of the shared value journey. That's where my vision and my focus has always been. So I am looking forward to innovative products, services that would not just make someone rich, but will also transform the lives of the many other people who are below the poverty line, that will transform the lives of our communities and build resilient economies. That's how you can be able to even overcome the next COVID-19, which would perhaps, I mean, God forbid, the next wave of any, but we know that we are in a vocal world. It's uncertain. Things can happen. But when we know why we exist and we know that we belong here to support each other, then we're able to withstand the bigger challenges that come our way, because we are building this together, because we are thriving together, because we are holding each other's hands and we are holding each other accountable to build products that are good, not just to make us money, but are good for society's advancement. So that's where my focus is. And I think I think we'll achieve this. I think, in my view, the young
Thank you.
leaders of our time will achieve this.
So thank you, Andy. And I want to say I love your reference to Ubuntu. I am because we are. And I just want to also, just in closing, want to say thank you. And I hope that everybody that was listening to us today can find the inspiration in everything that you were sharing as a young leader, because I so agree with you, is that as young people you need to go out there and create your own narrative, but never forget that it's about honesty, it's about respect, and it's
That's
about trust. And it's not about me, it's about us. So
fantastic.
thank you for tuning in to Shared Value Conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or join the conversation. If you want to come and share what your views are on shared value and how you think we actually, can do things better, please contact us. Because as Andy and myself were talking about, we want to create this platform for all of us. And I want to, in closing, ask you just a quick, Andy, one-liner for our young entrepreneurs there. If you have to motivate them, what is the one message you will give to them? And I want to say thank you for being with us today on Shared Value Conversations.
Thank you so much, Iki. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here. I think you've said it. The one liner, it's not about me, it's about us. Whatever we are doing, whatever product that we are thinking about, whatever innovative idea that we are seeking to deploy and to contribute to society's advancement, it shouldn't stay with us. It shouldn't say me who has done this. You say that it's for the advancement of society. It's for us. And so learn to be alive now and value the process. Learn to be thinking about we, us, together more often than you think about yourself. Self-consciousness is not a good thing. And I think self-centeredness is even more dangerous. And for me, the most beneficial part of life is when you do it for all. to benefit. So that's what I'll leave with you all. And thank you once again, Tiki, for hosting me.
Thank you, Andy, for those words of wisdom from one of our young African leaders. And thank you for tuning in to Shared Valley Conversations.